All right, good morning, or if you're in Blue 5, good afternoon. Again, just as a quick reminder, I am obviously not here today, so what you guys are going to be doing today, if you have your boards, pause the video here, go ahead and put your boards away. We're not going to do the boards today. I know some of you probably are just in a good habit of doing that, so thank you for doing that, but pause the video right here, go ahead and put the boards away. All right, if, again, me being gone today, we started this on Thursday, so I'm just going to take a few minutes. We're going to do a few more examples with this. Go ahead and get out your notes and find this page in your notes. It's right after the page that we did in class on Thursday, where we were talking about function notation, input and output, and then we did those 3 problems down at the bottom in class on Thursday. So find this page in your notes, and you're going to turn to the very next page right over after that. We're going to do those 6 examples together. So pause the video right here and let them turn to this page in their notes. Once everybody's here, hit play again. Okay, continuing on. Remember, as we talked about in class on Thursday, we have our function notation. We're going to be working with this. Just keep in mind here, we are trying to evaluate the function for the given input value. Remember our function notation. In the parentheses is our input, and then when we do the work with it, out here becomes our output. We reviewed that from the other day. So as we look at this function, this right here is my function. Remember our saying of this, we say f of x. This is not multiplication, so we say f of x is equal to 7x minus 13. And this right here, 7x minus 13, is my function. So here, this says, we read this f of 3, and remember this 3 is my input. So I'm going to put that 3 in here wherever there is an x. In this case, there's only one x, so we're going to take that x out, and we're going to input the 3. So again, we took the x out, and we put the 3 in. And now we're going to do the evaluation with this. So we do PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiply or divide, add or subtract. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our multiplication here. 7 times 3 is 21. And rewriting the rest of it, we have 21 minus 13. And now to finish this up, we're going to go ahead and do the 21 minus 13, and we get 8. So then we write our final answer as our function sentence. We say f of 3 is 8. So when I input 3, my corresponding output is 8. F of 3 is 8. Okay, jumping over to the next example, example B there. Similar idea, but now we've got a negative we have to think about, so you got to slow down just a little bit. Anytime we see a negative sign, you got to slow down and pause a little bit, but this is still my input, and we're going to put that in place of the x. So my function is f of x is equal to negative 5x plus 10, and we're going to input negative 4 into this function. So this negative 5 is not the same thing as this negative 4. We've got to remember those are 2 different negatives. So we're going to have negative 5, and then in place of the x, we're going to put the negative 4 plus 10. My x became a negative 4. And now we're going to do the math with this. We're going to do the calculations using PEMDAS. First, we have multiplication right here. Negative 5 times a negative 4. Negative 5 times a negative 4. Negative times a negative is a positive 20. So now we have positive 20 plus 10, we get 30. So we write our sentence, f of negative 4 is 30. F of negative 4 is 30. The biggest mistake that students will make with this, just like when we did this clear back in August at the beginning of the school year, and all through solving equations, the number one mistake that students will make is they don't think about, or they don't slow down and pay attention to the signs, and they get wrong answers because they do mistakes, calculation mistakes with positive numbers and with negative numbers. So I'm cautioning you or telling you, please, please, please slow down, especially when you have negative numbers, and think about what those negative numbers do and how to get the right calculation results. Okay, let's jump over to this one. Now this one's a little bit longer equation. It's got two different x's in it. We have x squared, and we also have a negative 3x. So we got to pay attention to that. We have two different places we're going to be doing our input. So my function is, again, reading it out loud, f of x is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 2. So this is my function, and I'm going to input 3. But I'm going to put that 3 in everywhere we see an x. So we're going to have 3 squared minus 3 times 3 plus 2. We had two different places where we did our inputs. Okay, so now we come back, we've done our inputs, and now we got to do our math using order of operations. So this is one where we've got to be careful. This exponent comes before multiplication. So you got to remember, we talked about exponents a little bit last week, but I'm going to remind you, this is not 3 times 2. That's the number one mistake, is kids will say 3 squared is 6. It is not 3 times 2. This is a little 2 for a reason. 3 squared, or 3 to the power of 2, means we're going to take 3 and multiply it by itself. 3 times 3, we're going to multiply it by itself. This tells me how many times I do the repeated multiplication. So 3 squared literally means 3 times 3. I took 3 and I multiplied it by itself 2 times. So 3 times 3 is 9. So 3 squared is 9. Now I'm going to rewrite the rest of the problem. Beware of exponents. They're going to trick you up if you're not careful. If you're confused by that, make sure you ask for help from one of the other teachers in the room. So make sure you understand those exponents, because you're going to see that on homework and other places. So now we keep on going. So we did the exponents. Now we've got to do the multiplication or division. This is a negative 3 times a 3. Don't forget the negative is there. Yes, that is part of it. It is a negative 3 times a positive 3. So this turns into a negative 9. So now it becomes 9 minus 9 plus 2. So to finish this out, now we do our addition and our subtraction, and we work from left to right. So we do 9 minus 9 first. 9 minus 9 is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. Again, remember, subtraction and addition, when we have, that's all we have left, we work from left to right. A lot of kids will try to do the addition first and they'll get mistakes. We got to go from left to right. So now finishing this up, going ahead and writing my function statement. My input was 3. My output was 2. So there's my final answer. F of 3 is equal to 2. Okay, jumping down here to letter D. Oh my goodness, how in the world would I ever, why in the world would I ever make you do fraction problems? Because I think you can do fraction problems, especially simple fractions like 1/2, and you got to practice them to get better. So my function here says f of x is equal to 1/2 x plus 8. Now, I believe all of you are smart enough and capable of taking half of x, whether that's a big number or a small number. I think most of you are capable of taking half of a number. That's why I'm going to give you fractions. Now, I'm not going to give you really messy fractions right now. We're still practicing this and getting better at it. But this just means half of whatever x is. So in this case, x is 10. This is my input. So if I put 10 in place of x, this means half of 10. Half of 10 plus 8. Or it also means 1/2 times 10. 1/2 times 10 or half of 10 are the exact same thing mathematically. So what is half of 10? Hopefully you're thinking in your head, half of 10 is 5. So half of 10 becomes a 5, and this becomes 5 plus 8. And now we can go ahead and do 5 plus 8, and we get 13. So my function equation says f of 10, my input is 10. When I put 10 in, my output is 13. Okay, 2 more examples. This first one we're going to do here, letter E, is a little bit of a trick in it. You got to be careful. This is a common place where a lot of students will make a mistake because they don't slow down and think. As I've said before, this is a negative input. So you got to be careful with negative inputs. They create problems for you, especially if you're not very good with working with negatives. So my function, f of x, is x squared minus 9. Oh man, this has got 2 messy things in it. It's got an exponent, and it's got a negative number. So you've got to be very careful with this and take your time. Don't get in a big hurry. And I'm going to pause right here, and I'm going to say, if you have stopped listening, check back in right now, because this is going to be a problem for a lot of you if you're not really thinking about what we're talking about in the next minute or so. All right, let's go through this problem. My function is f of x is equal to x squared minus 9. I'm going to be inputting negative 2 in for that x. So it's going to look like this, negative 2 squared minus 9. Now, we do the exponent first. Here's where a lot of you will make a mistake. You'll just take negative 2 squared and think that the answer is negative 4, because we don't really think about what that exponent means. That exponent means take this number and multiply it by itself 2 times. So this really means negative 2 times a negative 2. And most of you know that a negative times a negative is actually a positive number. But if you're not careful with this and you don't slow down and really dig in and actually understand what's going on here, that we're taking negative 2, multiplying it by itself, negative 2 times negative 2, you'll get an answer that is incorrect here. Because a negative times a negative is a positive 4, not a negative 4. A lot of you will put a positive 4, so beware. A positive 4 minus 9 So now we take a positive 4 minus 9, and we get a negative 5. So my input is negative 2. When I put negative 2 into this function, I get out of it a negative 5. F of negative 2 is negative 5. Put a star next to this one. Beware of that one. It's going to come back up again. We're going to come back to that idea with exponents, especially with negative numbers in those exponents. We're going to practice that quite a bit over the next couple of weeks, just because that's something, again, next year, if you're not careful with it, it'll trip you up. So beware of that. We'll come back to that one again. This last one's pretty straightforward. My function, f of x, is 2x minus 9. My input is 3. So I'm going to put 3 in there, 2, and then in parentheses 3, my input is 3, minus 9. So 2 times 3, we're going to do our math now, we're going to do PEMDAS, multiplication before subtraction. 2 times 3 is 6. So now we have 6 minus 9, and that gives me negative 3. So my input is 3, my output is negative 3, and I have my function equation, or my function sentence. All right, your homework is just a lot of practice with this, where I give you different functions and different inputs, and ask you to go through and do the calculations with it. If you get stuck, make sure you raise your hand and ask for help. We will have a quiz. We will have a quiz on Wednesday, and there will be a couple of questions using function input and output like this on the quiz. Okay, so beware of this. Just as a little bit of a hint, there will be a question with an exponent on the quiz. So beware, make sure you understand this. If you have questions, please ask for help. If you need to come see me during seminar, I will be back at school on Tuesday. So if you need help, come see me, ask one of the other teachers in the room. Otherwise, good luck. This homework will be due on Wednesday.